Hello, everyone. As a lot of my friends on Facebook have been aware, I went in a couple of weeks ago for a heart cath procedure to remedy a blockage that I had in my heart. And it was known at the time that there were two blood vessels that were blocked. And they had to put on hold what they were doing that day because I already had too much dye in my bloodstream and needed a couple of weeks to flush that out. Would have been too much strain on my kidneys. At my age, my kidneys are in decline. Not bad, but at my age, that's just the thing they do. So anyways, I went back yesterday, got checked into the hospital, and they went in through a bigger artery, one down uh, in my groin area called the femoral artery. And it's like one of the biggest single arteries, and they sent two wires up inside my heart. And here's what they were dealing with. It wasn't an X like I had been led to believe. It was more like a Y. And the bigger one, that's the main artery, and the smaller one is a branch. And in that area of the junction, there was an accumulation of calcium that was building up, and it was narrowing the size, the diameter of it, and it was causing the blood flow to reduce. Now, the problem with that is that this blood vessel and its tributary, or whatever you call it, the branch, they nourish the heart muscle itself with blood. And if they stop flowing, you'll not only have a heart attack, you'll have the kind that you really don't come back from. My middle brother had one when he was about 47 years old. And the good thing about discovering a blockage like this is, like in my case, they discovered it before there was an event. In my middle brother, they discovered it because of the event. He had a heart attack, so they did a cath, and they found the blockage. And sadly, they did not do a balloon procedure or a stent. They said there'd be no point of it because 25% of his heart had lost its blood supply, and of course had that part of his heart died. So he had to live with about 3/4 of his heart working for the rest of his life. And he didn't do too badly because he lived to the age of 66, and that's about 19 more years that he made it with his diminished capacity. And the procedure they used on me, which they caught mine before any event happened, and I'm in pretty good shape for a man my age. I'm 78 and I'll be 79 in June, and I'm pretty active physically except for these bum knees of mine. And they decided to do, in the larger one, they were going to do a stent. That's what they wound up doing. But because of the close proximity, they only did a balloon procedure. If they'd put a stent in that branch, it would have compromised the first stent. So they said rather than do that, our least risky, option was to swell it out. I got to tell you, this procedure was kind of protracted, and it wasn't exactly entirely comfortable. And some weird things happened. It like up in here, I began to feel pressure in my throat when they were activating the stent and the balloon, and then I began to feel something in the roots of where my teeth would be if I had any teeth, and if my teeth were real. And it was like, if you're old as me, you probably remember when Russia launched the first satellite ever. It was called Sputnik 1, and all it did was go ping, 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 and people were picking up these pings in the fillings of their teeth. Well, I don't have any fillings in my teeth, but in the nerves where my teeth would be, I was feeling a kind of a shock, and I was hearing this high-pitched, real like a ping, ping, and it was like, I don't know, like maybe 3 or 4 a second, and they came in short bursts, and I would feel the pressure in my throat. Well, they explained to me later that what they're doing is a sonic treatment. They can't just simply swell the stent up because it's like surrounded by rock. It's calcium. And if they just simply push it outward, it would break into big chunks and it would destroy that blood vessel. And of course, that would not be a good thing. So they send these pings through there they have developed just the right frequency of sound. It shatters the rock into almost like a powder. And then once they get it softened up, they push outward and they hold it there for a little bit. And of course, the time they've got it held is when the pressure comes. They're cutting off the blood to the heart itself, and they can only do that a few seconds. So they did it a few times to give this stuff a chance to set in its new position. And they got the balloon had to be withdrawn, of course, because they don't leave those in there. And the stent had a balloon inside it too, I think, and they withdrew that and withdrew the wires. And then came the final and perhaps the most painful part of the procedure. The surface of your flesh. You got this large femoral artery down below the surface, and for somebody with as much fat on his body as me, I used to be about 80 pounds or so heavier, and they have a hole cut down to this femoral artery about the size of a man's fingertip in diameter. So what they do when they're all done, they've withdrawn everything and they're done up in your heart, they need to close this because the femoral artery, if left open, it can you can bleed out in a matter of minutes. So they take a big blob of collagen and they take a manly grip on that tissue, squeeze, they stuff the collagen into the hole and they squeeze it closed. And they hold it like that, squeezing it for, 5 minutes. It's like they're trying to just rip a big plug of flesh out of you. And I ended up with pretty much some bruising in that area, you know. And I wasn't allowed to do anything. I couldn't get out of my bed. They kept me overnight, and I was tied down by connections, hoses and tubes and things. I had a drip bag hanging, and I had, of course, EKG, so I'm all wired up. But this morning, they finally cut loose, and they decided that I was progressing enough that they let me come on home. So I got out about noon, and I came home, and I asked the doctor, when can I get back to doing push-ups and planking, things like that. And he said, I think you need to leave off that for about 2 weeks until you see me again, and then we'll go from there. I'll probably give you the go-ahead. And they suggested to me that heart rehabilitation is available to me. I would have to drive to Germantown, I think, to take advantage of it. It'd probably be a couple of times a week, but what they do is they get a person rehabilitated to the point they can function. But this is mainly for people who got their stent put in after some event made the doctors aware of the blockage, and I haven't seen that event. So I told the doctor I'm not like most 78-year-olds. I've done I do push-ups every day, and 3 times a week I plank. And he said, well, it is mostly for people who have had a heart attack and need to be rehabilitated. So he said, we'll talk about that. We're going to see each other again on the 18th. So he'll be able to size me up and decide what to do. I really don't think I'm going to be going to rehabilitation therapy because I think really all he needs to do is kind of turn me loose. One of the consequences of this procedure is I'm going to be on blood thinners perhaps for the rest of my life, but I have made a great trade-off because I had a friend when I was a little bit younger, maybe 20 years ago, and he was from back home. I kept in touch with him. He was a Baptist pastor, and I didn't hear from him on Facebook again, and I think my brother told me that he was still alive then, and he told me he had a sudden massive heart attack and was gone just like that. Well, he had something that caused that to happen, probably something like this. Only thing was, he didn't become aware that he had ticking time bomb. And it was through a chain of unlikely events that I became aware that I had the blockage. And had it not been for that, had the doctors not been looking at me, they might never have discovered that blockage, because they had to put me in some, well, they had to put me in some scanners that most people don't get just every day of their life or every time they see their doctor. And that was when they found the blockage. And they determined that it needed to be fixed before something bad happened. So I think I'm very fortunate that this happened when it did, the way it did. And now I'm looking forward to a recovery and getting on with my life, because I've still got plans. And some of those plans, if I'm around long enough, are going to take me well into my 80s. So that's where we stand today, and that's how it worked out. I appreciate all the well wishes and the prayers that people sent my way, but it looks like I'm going to be okay. Thank the Lord.